Greetings and salutations to you all once again. It is me, the Ravenous Spectre. And this kind of just came to mind today, as a matter of fact. I was thinking about the PlayStation 3. I was actually playing the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion on PlayStation 3, the Game of the Year edition. That has its own fair share of problems, but I'm not going to get into that. The main thing that kind of popped up into my mind about this whole video is the fact that when you really just try to put all the PlayStation consoles next to one another, you kind of really look at where's the pros and the cons of the hardware. Now, for those of you that are new to my channel, whether you're just coming across this video or you happen to subscribe, because I noticed lately I got a couple new subscribers, so I just want to welcome you to the channel. And if you don't know, then I'm mainly a PlayStation guy. I've been with PlayStation since the PS1 all the way up to the PS4. And I've noticed ever since I have dealt with the systems, now obviously this is my own personal opinion, my own personal experiences with the systems, because everybody's going to have their own experiences, because that's the where hardware is. It has its pros and its cons. Sometimes it'll work fine, sometimes it won't. It depends obviously how much you use the hardware and what you do with the hardware and all of that, so this is basically why I believe that the PlayStation 3 was the worst one out of all four systems. And I don't want anybody calling foul or anything on me like that. I love the PlayStation 3. I do. I love every single PlayStation, from the PS1, PS2, PS3, PS4. All of them have their pros and all of them have their cons, given at that point in time dealing with the hardware, without a shadow of a doubt. If I'm a PlayStation guy, and that's my preferred platform, then you got to take the good with the bad, if you will. And the main thing that I want to get around to is why it was that it seems like the PS3, and well, actually, I know some people would feel the same way. And in some of the things that I would have to say in this video, they probably have had some of those same experiences. I know that I have as well. So I actually have a small video or a list up here because I couldn't remember everything about the PS3. I just know from personal experiences of the things that I dealt with, but I kind of wanted to go over some of the things that I've dealt with, and also probably other people have, that I have seen online dealing with the PlayStation 3. If you go back and you look at the PlayStation 1, obviously that was the very first one. Technically it was like the PlayStation Nintendo, if you will, when Nintendo and Sony had a partnership with one another, and that fell apart. But the PS1 came out, and it was just like a revolutionary gaming console. It absolutely was. And onward from there was the PS2, and they got better, so on and so forth. But I think probably one of the main things that really stood out for the PS3 is it was the most expensive of all four consoles. I believe it started out at $600. As soon as I ended up hearing that number, my mind just blew. I said, "There's no freaking way that I'm going to be able to afford that system on launch," and there was no way that I wanted to. It was not happening. It was ridiculous on how expensive it was. I actually didn't get my first PS3 until it was half that price. Probably, well, I think it was maybe anywhere between, I think, $320 and $340, something like that, but a hell of a lot cheaper than what it was previously, at $600. And it was refurbished, obviously, but I still have it. It still works, and I do have another one as well, but because I thought my first one was actually acting up on me, when in reality I was getting confused because it was actually PlayStation Network that was messing up. It wasn't my system. So in my mind, I was thinking it was my system and thinking it was going to die, knowing how much I used it. And I was like, I should just go ahead and get a new PS3. So I got two PS3s now. I have the latest model, which is the very last one they come out with the frickin' sliding top, which I hated. I wish it was just the one where you could feed the disc right in, but that's neither here nor there. It just seems like it's cheaply made with the final one with the sliding top on it. And obviously I have the very first, well, not the very first one, because it doesn't have as many USB ports and it doesn't play PlayStation 2 games. So there's that. But anyways, one of the very first things I want to bring here, besides just dealing with that itself in terms of dealing with the price, was the fact of the load times. Not the load times, the install times. I apologize. The install times. Some games for the PlayStation 3 had the longest install times I have ever seen in my life. Out of like any console, like in terms of PS4 and Xbox One and Xbox 360 and also on PC as well. You know, because obviously that would determine internet speed if you were downloading. But in terms of just like installing off of a disk, it was really long. And this is a prime example from what happened to me today. I have Drakengard 3. I got that. I put it in, it did the update thing, and it had to install the game data. I was waiting for what seemed like forever and ever and ever. And honest to God, it like seems like it just stalled or crashed on 31%. And I was like, what's going on here? You know, it wasn't moving at all. So I don't know what happened. It just crashed or did something. So I said, hell with it. I'm just going to go ahead and restart the system. I just went ahead and did that and started it back up again, started to install it, and it went right along. It went all the way up to full 100% and got it installed and everything. So I don't know what was going on there. But still, before then, it was taking forever to install. Especially also, now it may be the model itself. It might be, maybe, I don't know, knowing it's the latest model of the PS3. Maybe that was one reason why it had done like it had done. I honestly have no clue. But yeah, that was definitely something that just really got my goat. It truly did. I just sat there shaking my head. I was like, come on, man, just install already. You know, I know it can take a while to install, depending on the size of the game or whatever the case may be, but it wasn't doing it. So, but anyways, with that one aside, another one here, also dealing with the fact of inferior versions of cross-platform games. And one such incident, can't get my words out tonight, one such incident as that is actually dealing with another personal experience of mine, because I've had other friends who have dealt with stuff like that before. The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. Huge Elder Scrolls fan. Love the Elder Scrolls series. Love the Fallout series as well, but I'm more akin to medieval fantasy, so I love the Elder Scrolls series much more. Was playing it tonight, and actually it was yesterday. Was playing it yesterday, and of course in the game you know that there's a chance that you can get vampirism. You can become a vampire, which has both pros and cons, and to me it has more cons than it has pros. Yeah, you can get some extra powers, and you can be a little bit stronger or whatever, but then again, you can't be out in sunlight because you'll take damage. You can't be out in the rain because you'll take damage, and apparently you have to feed every 24 hours or something to be able to, I don't know if it's for your health or your strength or your powers or whatever. I never got that far into it. The only thing is, I don't want to deal with a headache. So I wanted to go ahead and go on the quest to be able to get rid of it. And the quest, from what I heard, isn't long or anything. It's just it's a little involved, and you gotta, you know, take care of it to be able to get rid of the vampirism. And turns out that I have the Game of Year edition. The Game of the Year edition in North America, if you get vampirism, you're pretty much screwed. If you have the European version, then you can actually go into the system settings, change the language to German, and you bypass a glitch that happens in a conversation that you have with a witch that is supposed to help you get rid of the vampirism, where it changes one of the ingredients, I believe, that you have called bloodgrass, and in German it changes it to bloodgrass, but it's like B-L-U-D grass or something. I think that's the ingredient, and I believe in English it's actually spelled out like blood, like B-L-O-D, bloodgrass. And it helps you get past that glitch in the Game of the Year edition and the European version, but the North American version, if you have it, then you're screwed. And I looked up about that, and I just shook my head. I said, you've got to be freaking kidding me. So, yeah, that right there just tells me that it's an inferior port with it being a cross-platform game with the Game of the Year edition. Now, the original one, apparently everything is fine, but this is the one with the DLC on it. And, I mean, the way that I see it now, it's either I just deal with the vampire playthrough, because I'm only level 5. You know, I deal with that, or I go and make a new save, I mean a new character, and see where things go on with that with me. Or I just go and try, because PS3 games are like really cheap right now, so go find the original version for like maybe $8, $7, $8 or something like that. Get that and use that and play that, to be able to progress onward with that. And when I want to play the DLC, I'll just pop the DLC, the Game of the Year edition that came with the DLC to progress onward from there. Headache, man. Just, oh my God, aggravating as all get out. The other thing that probably kind of really that's kind of a factor is the fact of dealing with the vanishing backwards capability, if you will. And some people have kind of just gotten a little aggravated with that because it's like, well, you have the PS1, then you have the PS2. The PS2 could play PS1 games and PS2, obviously. And of course, it could play DVDs. And then you had the PS3 that had the ability when it first came out, which was the PS1, because obviously it plays that, and it plays PS3, but it also played PS2. Now, the reason that I had heard that it was taken out was because it was more, I believe, of a manufacturing cost, because it cost them more money to have the ability for the system to have the ability to play PS2 games on there, and that increased the price. So they took it out to be able to lower the price. So to me, honestly, I kind of feel like they should have took the PS1 out and left the PS2 in, because it's just going up from like one generation to the next. PS2 plays PS1, PS3 plays PS2. That's just how I saw it. Which actually I think it'd be pretty cool if it was like PS4 plays PS3, but that's what I got that PlayStation Now thingy for, apparently. But yeah, that was kind of another thing that I think was it's just like it was jumping back one generation, like bunny hopping over to the very first generation instead of just sticking with the previous one. So it does really make a difference with backwards capability. Some people think that backwards capability is just stupid, but honestly, it saves on time, it saves on space, it saves on having to switch around consoles. It just it's really convenient, and you're still having access to all these this other massive library of great games. But another one here that I see here is the forced six-axis functionality, I should say. Yeah, that was definitely something that had got to me over a certain period of time, which I just couldn't get over, really, when you had to move with the motion controls and the thing to make the thing do the thing and all this other stuff. I hate motion controls. I truly do. I hate them. I just really do. Because every time I use them, they are not implemented well at all. None whatsoever. So dealing with that just, but eventually it came to a point where Sony was like, okay, well, let's just make it an option, which is what it should have been in the first place. I can understand if they wanted to try to make it, oh, look at this, we need to show you this, we need to show you this new technology, blah, 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 blah. Just like that crazy idea where they had like the boomerang controller before that whole that whole controller deal got revamped once again, which technically has been the same controller console generation after console generation for the most part. It's always the same. It's just maybe a few different tweaks or one or two here or there. But yeah, that six-axis thing was just that was something, especially when you were playing Lair. If you've ever played Lair, when you were trying to control your dragon, you were moving the controller around everywhere to make a move here and there and everywhere, and yeah, that didn't go through well. Eventually, I believe they went ahead and patched it, or they ended up re-releasing it again, where you could turn that on or off, which was very helpful. I'd rather just use the sticks instead of having to use my wrist to move around like this and have all herky-jerky, crazy movement like I'm jacked up on Mountain Dew. That was definitely something. Never been a fan of motion controls. Let's see here. I was just trying to go through here a little bit more to see if I could possibly pop into something that would show up for me. Let's see here. Well, I'm pretty sure everybody has their own personal feel on it. Honestly, there's not really too much to go on in terms of, well, yeah. There. Let's see. I'm sorry. I'm trying to go through the list. I'm trying to pick out the ones that really kind of stand out to me and actually seems like they make sense. Well, another thing here, I read here that there was like no controller charging in standby mode, which I guess I was never really aware of that. You know, I mean, um, yeah, you pretty much would have to have the system on to be able to charge the controller and use the controller, but I guess it's not like what it is with the PS4 where you can actually just keep it on sleep mode or standby mode or what have you to be able to charge the controllers on its own. But I have two of them. When I'm not using one, the other one's controlling. The other one's charging. So, you know, yeah, I really, excuse me, I don't have any problem with that. Um, but anyways, uh, let's see, what else did we have here on this list that we could possibly zoom over a bit and see what's what. Um, I don't really see too much else that really is just popping up here to me, honestly. Um, but the thing is that also kind of got to me was the fact that obviously when you're dealing with PlayStation Plus, everything was free on there in terms of online play. You know, because nowadays with the PS4, you have to pay to play online. You know, which is bullshit. But that was probably a real positive also of the PS3 on that end, especially when it dealt with the PlayStation Network, was being able to play for free online. The thing that also sucked dealing with the PS3, and I know this had to be on Sony's side as well, dealing with their network, was dealing with the fact of the PlayStation Store was just broken on PlayStation 3. I know everybody's got their own experiences with that, but it was really just broken on PS3. That was another reason they ended up fooling me into getting another console, and I thought it was my console, and it wasn't. It was a network, you know. So I guess way to go Sony there for like, you know, making me buy another console when I didn't or some shit. Oh god, that was something. I don't regret it. I mean, heck, I got another one. Like I said, I do love the PS3, but to me, it's the weakest one, at least in terms of dealing with the hardware situation and the problems and things that it had, because each one has had their own fair share, you know, with the evolution of hardware, so on and so forth. But just from personal experiences, out of all four, that's the PS3 is the one that it really just hit home for me in terms of like, yeah, if I were to rank these, the PS3 would be on the bottom of the list. um, so, but anyways, but like with the PlayStation Store, it was just, I don't know why, but it was like slow and it was laggy, and there was times when it would just kick you out of the store and put you right back to your home screen again. That was one of the problems I was dealing with. That was like my console is dying. Oh god, every time I go in the PlayStation Store and try to do something, it'll kick me out to the main screen again. You know, and obviously I don't know if they have updated that up until this point, which they're probably not really doing that anymore since they're mainly focusing on PlayStation 4. But when that had happened, I was like, you know, hopefully they finally have fixed this, because any other times that I've gone in there, I haven't really had any of those problems. So hopefully it'll stay that way for like future reference, you know. But overall, everything else that the PS3 had and what it had to offer was definitely up to par. It was just some of those things that kind of really stood out that kind of seemed like it had a real detriment on me. But if you guys have anything to add to this, if you have any comments or anything, or any experiences or anything that you have had, then please leave them below, because I would definitely like to get into a discussion about this, because everybody is going to have a wide range of thoughts and feelings on the matter, a wide range of personal experiences, where, you know, whether they be good or whether they be bad, because I know I'm leaving some out. I know that I am. I try to actually look over some other problems and things that the PS3 had that just wasn't from my own personal experiences, because I was just trying to get a list out of the various things that it had dealt with. But overall, I mean, that's kind of pretty much some of the things there that has contributed to why I feel the way that I do about the PlayStation 3. I really just thought this would be an interesting video for me to go over and discuss something like that, because it was just on my mind, and I was like, this would be an interesting discussion topic dealing with the hardware of the PlayStation 3, if you will. So anyways, well, this video has gone on a little bit longer than I had expected it to. Me just sitting here running my mouth constantly and just never ending, you know, which is what else is new. You know, that's what the videos are for, is to be able to get out there and express yourself, you know. And whatnot. So, anyways, I will end this like I always do. Later, taters. Have a lovely, lovely evening, day, night, morning, afternoon, siesta, nap, whatever. Peace.